And do you,
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can hear you now. If you want to fill in,
Yeah,
what I missed.
Sorry, I had earlier problems with the Wi-Fi here, those don't. So basically, there are some options with, we met with our grantee, Linda, called a meeting together with, myself and Rick Powers and Jessica, Cruz and, some of the other people. We discussed going, forward with some grant applications. We are gonna do a shotgun approach and try to not only get a grant for construction, but also for abatement and for site preparation as well as design. It's important that, the council move forward with this resolution in case we can't get this, because grants, especially construction grants, are easier to get if we have the design and the site preparation done. It looks better in the grant and they are more comfortable with doing it. So, in order for us to do that for sure, that we need, money from USDA, and that means, upping this grant to, or upping this resolution to mirror what the architect said it would cost. Does that make sense?
Paul, can you share with the council the deadline date for the pre-application? Because if we don't hit that date, then we'd have to wait another year, or fiscal year.
Right, right. I am, gosh, I believe the application date is the end of September. Jerry, do you remember exactly?
I think it's October, isn't it? Maybe Linda knows.
Oh, Gary's here. Gary remembers. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, council members, that date is October, that it's no later than, for submittal. Our goal was to have that done before the end of September, so it's set and ready to go. This resolution was a major, one of the major components that had to be done prior to that. After having the discussion with the Financial Sustainability Committee and understanding and reviewing what the resolution previously stated, this was part of what needed to be done in order to proceed forward. I think we're on track to easily meet the goal for the pre-application process, and then being able to delve into the full application from there.
And then, once a pre-application, again, this was discussion in our sustainability or financial, which is good.
Yes.
The application, true application goes in when, and when would you hear results from that? Do you remember that?
The true application date, I don't recall what the time frame for that one was. I'm trying to remember.
I thought we might hear something early 2023.
The funding announcements come early, typically early in the next year. So it'd be early 2023 would be the announcement of funding, whether.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, what I recall the most, and I don't have my notes with me, but the time when we would have to sign on the dotted line was about that November, December timeframe. And that's assuming that the pre-application, the application, and then we've had the meetings with the bankers, and we're looking to finalize that, which is not a long time, which is good if we have the information we need. If we don't have, if we're not comfortable with the pricing and there's too many unknowns, at that point we can just pivot easily and go down to site work and design. And as Jerry said, having a design in hand is a lot easier to get the funding for that. The other thing though that we did discuss, and we do not intend to, I would say, downgrade the design of the fire station that we have. We need a specific design for the site, for the protection of the crews and the health of the workers, and for the access to the 60. So we have a 2-story design, three and a half bays, I believe, drive through, and that is hard set. That is the building that we are going to build. There's not a lot of tweaking we can do in lowering the square feet or anything like that. It's a worthy goal. We're just going to get the lowest cost on that concept. But now there's still companies and we will bid, and there may be companies that are good at this and can take that configuration and modify it and you know, engineer it, value engineer it to get what we want in a more economical manner, but the specs on the station will stay the same. That's a commitment.
Do we have any questions for Paul, Jerry, or the chief? I think one other comment, Paul, is that, you know, we're under it's reality, inflation, and the costs have gone up to build. And, we're experiencing it here. But the fact being that we have a station that's over 100 years old and is not compliant with all the firefighter safety regulations that are in place, and creates a safety risk for our
Yeah.
firefighters. We need a state-of-the-art station that we can protect them from the cancers and the carcinogenics that are happening in this
Yeah.
profession. And, you know, Chief can talk more about that, but that's what the people need to understand, truly. This is what it's all about.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Gary, do you want to talk about what this new station brings to the city of Globe and to your department?
Yeah, there's, you know, there's obviously some pretty significant deficiencies in the facility we're in currently. Those deficiencies primarily deal with how we deal with vehicle exhaust and how we prevent the living areas, the areas that are more commonly occupied by personnel from becoming contaminated with that, whether it be from separation by what they call an airlock concept, where you have two doors between any point leading from a apparatus bay into living facilities, exhaust management systems in the form of either scrubbers or direct exhaust management, how we store our gear away from those exhaust contaminants versus how they're stored currently directly in the apparatus bay. All of those things play a significant role in starting to reduce the amount of contaminants that our personnel have to deal with. Currently, as it exists, you know, that exhaust has a direct line either to any of the upstairs portions of the station, where the living quarters are. Their turnouts are stored directly adjacent to that. So, you know, those are some vital things that go into it. The site has limitations, like Paul mentioned, with two-story and meeting that, which, you know, that has an effect on the design and has an effect on the build and the cost for the build as well. So.
Pretty good. Gary, can you speak to the benefits that the community would experience, you know, consolidating all of our apparatuses and in a focal point, you know, unit where it may improve response times, because staff apparatuses are all centrally located, and you know, it very well could have a bigger impact on our community.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, we have decent access to Highway 60 where we're at right now. However, you know, we did get some lights installed to help try and mitigate the traffic concern that occurs when we move to Highway 60. We have the train that is clearly, you know, on a regular basis, can determine how we have to respond if we need access to Highway 60. We have, you know, if we're doing any type of maintenance to apparatus, we have to move that outside into the middle of the street, which creates traffic hazards. It creates hazards for our staff that are operating in and around traffic. We always have to be cognizant of that, make sure personnel are paying attention. As far as the community goes, you know, direct access to Highway 60 was critical. We looked at historically the responses that we have and where we're responding to, and you know, with the exception of some, you know, increased activity in the area of both Walmart and, you know, the Main Street corridor, the Fry's corridor, the primary volume of traffic that we receive as a fire department is located, you know, within a radius directly around the downtown community. We see probably 70% plus of our call volume within that. So as we looked at locations for facilities, that was critical. It gives us the best, the ability to meet response times, the greatest amount of times possible. The facility itself will have, is designed to have the ability to house an emergency operations center in the event of, we have a need in the community to organize responses. There'll be some availability for that. There'll be availability for, the training community room for other training or for other entities, such as police department, or, community members that may need some facilities to do some training in. There's a number of things that we consider in that training for our personnel. We try to integrate training into the facility as part of the design, so that we can meet the needs of personnel to stay up to speed on things, such as technical rescues, just straight practicing with how to extend hose lines in tougher areas like our hotels, motels, those type of areas.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, there was no reason for us not to move forward with this project. I mean, the simple fact that our fire department's 100 years old, and it obviously isn't sufficient for the requirements of providing safety to our citizens. And one of these days we may get hung up. It creates serious problems for the city because the fire department couldn't get out or couldn't respond in time. So I'm willing to accept this resolution and make a motion for it if it's needed. So. Oh, you want me to make, okay, all right. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve amended resolution number 1859, supporting the USDA loan application to fund the construction of a new fire station for an amount not to exceed $13.5 million.
Second. Motion and second for approval of item 6D. Is there any further discussion? Paul, just one comment. This just goes along with our three promises that we made with the 1% sales tax increase, that this is part of that funding, that we are receiving the extra sales tax revenue to be able to fund a monthly payment for this new station, that we're
Right.
not going out to bond for it. We're not doing other methods that'll cost the taxpayers more money. This is paid through the anticipated amount of sales tax revenue that we anticipate receiving in the future.
Correct, and even though we don't have the loan in place, we have put that money aside, just to block that, amount out for debt service, and what we don't spend on debt service this year, we can, reinvest that into maybe site prep or something like that, but it's definitely one of those three items, maintaining, the good investments we have, stabilizing staff, and funding a new fire department. Those are the three goals for that 1%.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. As an emergency planner, you always note when an entity or government organization puts something out of service. That's a deficiency in the emergency response capability of that jurisdiction. When you see good planning done, you see additional capability by the government entity, so that it can meet its obligations and does adequate planning to replace equipment. In this case, we're 100 years behind the curve. But the point is that we have the opportunity. We're not affecting revenues of the city in so far as trying to go to additional funding through a bond election, as the mayor mentioned, or any other entity. We're simply creating opportunity from various grants that we can tap at this point in time. That's a good thing to have, rather than to have to close a building that we can no longer use. I think we're just barely avoiding that kind of scenario. When I sit across the street at Copperhead and look at the facade of that building, and I see the many cracks, and I see the facade tilting forward. I'm wondering, why haven't we done this sooner? Today's the opportunity to go after that. And all the conditions are right, including not, putting such a heavy burden on our, tax revenue and leveraging it, using the various grant, funded mechanisms we can tap. And I really think it's something we need to jump on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council.
Item 6E, consideration to approve contract number GS-2023-0018 with Pro Force Law Enforcement for the purchase of firearms and equipment in the amount of $35,011.02, funded through account number 10-57-52200, Police Capital Outlay, and request to waive section 24-2-4-10A. Prior discussion rule. Chief Walters.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council. This is the second installment of providing the equipment for the officers. This is part of our CIP this year. This would complete the complete overhaul of the equipment that they have and upgrade it to more modern standards. This includes patrol rifles, less lethal, some more handguns, Glock handguns for the additional officers that we received, and then some of the sights and slings and things like that to go with it. I've got an itemized list if you want to go through it individually.
I think we have that, right? Yeah. We have it.
This would outfit every sworn officer in the department with a patrol rifle. It would bring on 3 updated less lethal weapon systems for the department, and it would upgrade the sighting systems for the new handguns.
I mean, Chief, this is the way I look at it. This is a good problem to have. We're fully staffed, or we're very close if we're not, if we're there. I was on council not too long ago when our police department was really struggling. The morale was not at its best. And here we are now talking about outfitting new staff that actually need all this, just like the rest of the staff. So I see this as a good problem to have. And as a matter of fact, I don't even see it as a problem. It's just a good thing that we're able to get to this point. So thank you for all your diligence in keeping that department moving forward.
Thank you, Councilman.
With that, if there's no comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion. All right. A motion to approve contract GS 2023-0018 with Pro Force Law Enforcement for the purchase of firearms and equipment in the amount of $35,011.02. Request to waive section, prior discussion rule section 2-4-10A.
Second. Motion second for approval of item 6A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you,
Chief.
Council.
Thank
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So we go to late agenda items, and we do have a late agenda item. This is consideration to approve service agreement and contract number GS-2023-0019 with Vigilant Solutions LLC for the purchase of license plate reader program equipment for a contract amount not to exceed $40,912, funded through account number 10-57-52300, capital outlay equipment. Chief.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just before Dale speaks to this, Chief Walter speaks to this, the contract we were trying to get this wrapped up. We could not get everything through legal just out of logistics. We put this on a late agenda item because it is an important item. But if you do move forward with approving this, we would ask that you stipulate that you, the purchase on approval of the city attorney and empower the city manager to sign on behalf of the city. And so we do not have the contract in hand, but if you can approve this, then we can move forward. When the contract is approved, we can finish the purchase. And so that is why it's a late agenda item. We just ask council for that accommodation if you choose to move forward tonight. And I'll pitch it to Dale.
Good evening again, council and mayor. This is the program that we talked about a few sessions ago with the license plate readers. The benefits of these readers is they'll report directly into dispatch if there's an amber alert vehicle or a silver alert. It's beneficial for us for a lot of data collection for whether it's traffic patterns or follow up on major crimes or something like that. So these are small items that can be moved around. I know of one person on the dais that would greatly benefit out of me being able to put one on a one-way road in front of his house to identify who keeps driving the wrong way. So it's different things like that that could be used for. We have them in our city now, but they're mostly privately owned. A lot of companies that do a lot of driving and stuff will have them on their vehicles and capture data and stuff. This is actually for our purposes and for the benefit of the city and the community that we serve.
They're just something you can just mount on the dashboard. It's not something that the car's gonna have to be out of service for an extended period of time somewhere at.
No, we'll do all the mounting ourselves. Some of it can be, they've come a long way. Technology's come a long way, as we all know. The first group that I've seen, it looked like something out of Star Trek on the top of our cars. These are a lot smaller, more compact. We can mount them on stationary locations, and I believe that we could also use them on vehicles also. So it's a combination of both. We actually have one that we've been testing for the last several months. We've reaped great benefits out of that program, and so we're looking forward to moving forward with our own.
Gives you how many?
This will give us a total of 4, and we might be able to have 5 out of it, but this is specifically for 4.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, just so I'm clear, these are mobile units, they can be located in different areas at different times,
Yes,
or?
so what you've probably seen in the past, like when you're driving into Sholo from here, when they used to have the speed cameras, they had LPR systems set up at the same time, and they're stationary units. They never leave that. There's some benefits and some arguments to have that in specific locations going in and out of town for a lot of different reasons. But these specific units, they're mobile. They won't be permanently stationed, so we'll be able to move them around. They'll be managed by my staff.
Other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further questions or discussion, I would make a motion to approve the service agreement on contract number GS 2023-0019, excuse me, with Vigilant pending final legal review in an amount not to exceed $40,912 for the purchase of license plate reader program equipment, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Once we have final approval by the city,
Right.
city attorney. It currently is, we're waiting for a signature from the vendor, and if we get that with no changes, then we'll just go ahead. If there's changes, the attorney will look at them.
Second. Motion and second for late agenda item with Vigilante Solutions. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
We have our second call to the public. Do we have anybody online or on email?
Mr. Mayor, I see nothing, no additional emails have come in, and Shelley is. And no additional text messages, and I don't see anything on the, no, that would be it, no call to the public on the audience.
Scheduling of meetings?
Nothing out of the ordinary to report.
Just League of Cities, we know that who's scheduled for that, reserved for
Right,
League
the
of Cities.
majority of council will be attending, that'd be the, August 30th, 31st, and September 1st in Glendale, Arizona. And that is our annual conference
In Gilbert.
in Glendale. That was a typo. Gilbert, Glendale. It's,
Big difference.
It's not just in Glendale? Okay.
don't go to Gilbert.
I was getting ready to.
Closer. We have work group report to council, and we got those in our packets. We had, financial sustainability, and we had infrastructure.
And so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, if any non-attending member has any questions for, attending members, this would be the chance for them to learn more about those items.
Consideration for any future agenda item?
Mr. Mayor, I have one. I would like to begin the conversation, regarding, water resources. I don't know if we're gonna have, you know, a committee or, open conversation with the staff or even the council, but, you can help me format that request, but I think we really should start looking into our water resources, not only because of the drought that we're in, but of the expected and anticipated growth that we keep wanting to have. So I think it's important that we start talking about that.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Rios, yes, no, that is on consideration to get the right group of presenters up here. I've been talking to many people, saw the presentation at the Rule Forum about some of the things going on and the questions. I intend to kind of scope out, some of the other, my counterparts when we are in Glendale, about, getting some good information and then get some, information generalized to our current system, and our situation, our water supply. But it is, something that we'll be bringing forward, a comprehensive presentation, just so we can answer that question. Where is Globe, Arizona in the middle of this, what we're seeing as a regional and a national crisis?
We really need to understand what the 20% allocation decrease is gonna be in our state, and what parts of the states are really affected by that 20%.
It technically it shouldn't affect us, but it shakes up everything, and so when you're got a shortages and you get people scrambling, so we will bring back a presentation, and it may be multiple presentations depending how we can get people lined up, both on where we are and what steps we can take to protect and to mitigate our water supply.
Thank you.
Any other future agenda items? I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion made.
Second. Motion second to go into E-session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any, I don't think we have any results coming out of E-session.